Blizzard tried to fix Diablo IV's endgame in Lord of Hatred, and failed miserably. Hey everyone, it's Spopes. Feedback on the endgame in Diablo IV's latest expansion, Lord of Hatred, has been mixed. Players consistently call out bloated and confusing itemization, endgame activities that feel more like a chore list, and a seemingly arbitrary number of endgame difficulty levels. In this video, I'm going to call out the worst parts of the new endgame progression system in Diablo IV Lord of Hatred, drawing both on community feedback and my own personal experiences. Before we dive in, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, please like and hype this video, and consider taking your support a step further by becoming a member of the Spopes Army, pick up some merch, or leave a donation. Alright, let's dive into why the Diablo IV community is being left confused and annoyed by all the endgame changes in Lord of Hatred. Let's start with some positive stuff. I don't want to spoil it, but I did really enjoy the new campaign in Lord of Hatred. There were some thematic choices I didn't exactly agree with, but I thought the cinematics were great, I thought it was well done overall, and the new region of Skovos is just beautiful and immaculately designed. But as soon as I got to the endgame, I started experiencing some distinctly feels-bad moments. The new loot filter is less a quality of life addition and more of a necessity. War plans simply feel like a chore. There's absolutely no need to have 12 torment difficulties, 6 would have done just fine. You get way too many seals and charms. And overall, it feels like the developers at Blizzard have conflated complexity with complication. Sure, the new endgame is more complicated, but is it really more complex? So again, I really like the campaign, I think they did a great job with that. I really enjoyed my first 10 hours or so of the endgame. But after that point, the flaws got more and more readily apparent, which inspired me to make this review video. So let's get into the biggest pain points both the community and myself are experiencing with the endgame in Diablo IV Lord of Hatred. First of all, there's war plans. This was billed as a play your way type of endgame edition, where you'll be able to pick and choose the type of activities you actually like to do, and get better rewards. But in reality, you're often forced to play endgame activities like Helltides and Infernal Hordes, either at unoptimized junctures during your journey, or when their rewards are no longer relevant. There is some degree of player choice, but you're usually funneled down one of 3 paths. And in some cases, like we see here, endgame activities like Infernal Hordes are completely unavoidable. Players have also complained about war plans being character bound, meaning your progression is not shared on your alts. And they've also brought up the fact that war plans cannot be shared with your group, making the system inherently antithetical to group play. So in the end, war plans feels more like a frustrating checklist than player freedom. You have to do certain activities in the exact order they're planned out, or you won't get any progress. It seems like a bad adaptation of PoE's Atlas system. And by the way, I am not a PoE player, I don't like Path of Exile, so it's starting to look like I'm just going to be left without an ARPG to play. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. Another source of player frustration is the newly updated Torment difficulty system. Previously, difficulties only went up to Torment 4, but now you have a whopping 12 Torment difficulty levels, which seems cool at first until you dive into the math. The reality is that Torment 4 is now what Torment 2 used to be, Torment 8 is what Torment 4 used to be, meaning they simply could have added 2 Torment difficulties to get the equivalent of Torment 12, raising the cap of difficulties to Torment 6, but without this artificial bloat. The real issue here, aside from looking silly, is that players are now segregated into 12 separate server ecosystems. Every time you go up a Torment level, you're in a new server instance, and by this point, the first 4 Torment levels are basically dead, with endgame players being split between Torment 9 and Torment 12. This just comes across as entirely unnecessary to me. I think Blizzard wanted this to look and sound cool, where you have 12 Torment levels now, but all they really did was further divide the player base, create an arbitrarily high number of Torment levels, with basically no purpose whatsoever. It's actually counterproductive because players are associating it with Diablo III's ridiculously bloated Torment system, but you end up having 16 different levels of difficulty to play on, which just seemed excessive and alienated players, and now they're doing the exact same thing in Diablo IV. Now let's talk about the loot filter. When I first learned a loot filter was coming to Diablo IV, I was pretty excited. And in the previous itemization system, this would have worked great. But now the loot filter is transformed from a beneficial quality of life system into an absolute necessity as you sort through the ridiculous item bloat that has been put in place with Lord of Hatred. Thanks to the Herodic Cube, white, blue, and yellow items can be crafted to become completely OP, meaning they still drop even at the highest Torment difficulty. So you could set up your loot filter to filter out whites and blues, but then you miss out on some of the best items in the game. Going and taking down a lair boss has always spouted a ton of items, but at least they were all unique, and there was a pretty good chance they might be good. And yes, we're also going to talk about what they did to uniques in a moment here. But now lair bosses drop whites, blues, yellows, legendaries, and uniques, with maybe a mythic thrown in here and there. And because the loot filter isn't even really that good of a loot filter, there's more sorting through trash items than ever before. This just reeks to me of your traditional problem reaction solution situation, where Blizzard makes the problem of loot being bad, they get everyone riled up about it, then they solve it with the loot filter, but it doesn't actually solve the initial problem because they changed the problem since they created the solution. So yeah, really one of the main things that drove me away from pursuing the endgame more in Lord of Hatred is just how bad the loot is. and the loot filter, in my opinion, really does not help. Now let's talk about uniques. Someone at Blizzard had the genius idea to make random affixes roll on uniques in Lord of Hatred. This seems like a pretty cynical move in my opinion to get people to farm more and stay in the game longer, but it has really annoyed the heck out of the community. Sometimes you'll get completely useless affixes on uniques, and you cannot re-roll them. So for instance, here is Sanctus of Kethamar, which has to do with Disciple skills. Why would I want +2 to Justice skills? Why would I want cold resistance? And the one I have equipped, why would I want damage over time? And also lightning resistance. It is something like 100 times less likely now to get the unique you actually want. Uniques used to have curated rolls on their affixes. They could be at slightly higher or lower levels, sure, but you didn't get just completely random affixes on them. As far as I know, Blizzard has no plans to change this, but seriously, what were they thinking here? This ruined uniques, made them so annoying, contributed to turning Diablo IV into the forced grind fest it now is in Lord of Hatred. Now let's talk about charms and seals. The new Talisman system looks great on paper. I really like this new set that boosts your Arbiter damage. But both seals and charms drop like candy, meaning you end up with tons of them with no real idea of what to do with them. I found that the Talisman tab of my inventory fills up faster than any other tab. I'm constantly having to go to the occultist to salvage charms and seals. There's just another way where I feel like Blizzard has made Diablo IV more complicated while not actually being more complex in Lord of Hatred. Probably what has led to this feeling the most among the community is the new Herodic Cube, which again looks great on paper, but ends up feeling like you're juggling multiple Excel spreadsheets just to make an item. After a while, you start to realize that getting and converting items for the Herodic Cube is more of a chore than anything else. The system seems like it's almost designed on purpose to waste your time. So with the Talisman, the Herodic Cube, loot being completely bonkers, it really feels like Blizzard just put the level of complication in Diablo IV on steroids without really adding any real deep complexity. This isn't exactly an endgame feature, but one place where this is readily apparent is the newly redesigned skill tree. Sure, it looks like you have more choices here, but they completely took away passive skills in the skill tree, meaning that as you approach level 70, you have basically no idea what to do with all your skill points. You end up dumping them kind of randomly in places where you really don't need them, because you have too many and nowhere to put them. You can put up to 15 points in each skill now, but with passives being taken out, you quickly reach that cap, and your skill points are now meaningless. In almost every way, it feels like Diablo IV loads you up with meaningless busy work to keep you in the game as long as possible, even though you're really not having fun after a certain point. The way the endgame is in the DLC feels very disrespectful to player time. It gives across the impression that the studio is just trying to farm us for our play hours, keeping us busy with ultimately meaningless tasks, so we don't realize how bloated and silly endgame systems have become. So now this all begs the question of, can it be fixed? And the answer, at least theoretically, is yes. But given Diablo 4's track record, I have very little faith that it actually will be fixed, and it'll probably just keep going downhill from here. Since the beginning of the game, every patch and DLC in Diablo 4 has brought with it lots of changes that end up feeling more like random flailing than meaningful improvements. Many have now forgotten this, but the max level used to be 100. There was no talisman, there were no runes, and your main consumables used to be potions, which I forgot to mention this, but potions, meaning elixirs and incenses, have been completely removed from the game. So if you're trying to make the game more complex, why would you remove a layer of complexity like that? I'm not trying to be paranoid here, but it seems like the design philosophy at Blizzard is to keep players bamboozled with constant changes, so they have more trouble noticing the fundamental flaws of the game. With Lord of Hatred, Blizzard tried to copy PoE's level of complexity, but utterly failed to bring it to fruition in Diablo 4. Instead of being complex, it's complicated. Instead of being meaningful and engaging, it's boring. But again, no matter how much I increasingly dislike Diablo 4, I just don't like Path of Exile. I don't like the lore, I don't like the aesthetics, I don't like the character progression system, I don't like how it plays, it feels clunky. I mean, that's just me, but I know there are going to be a lot of comments, people saying, just go play PoE. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I might try Last Epoch again, it's been years. But right now, it's looking like I'm just going to be without an ARPG for the time being. There is always Diablo 2 Resurrected, though, which is still fun after 25 years. Itemization in D2R is inherently exciting. It works really well, and it has for more than 2 decades. Itemization in Diablo 4, however, is just inherently bad. And now it seems like the developers are trying to hide that behind massive mechanical bloat. So yeah, in the end, this ended up being a pretty critical review of the endgame in Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred. And again, I started out really enjoying it. I love the campaign, even though I had some issues with it. I love the beginning of the endgame progression for the most part. I was annoyed by some of the things I talked about in this video right from the beginning, but it didn't really compound to the level of unplayability until I'd sunk in around 10 to 15 hours. Past that point though, the endgame in Lord of Hatred just started to feel punishing, uncomfortable, and uninteresting. And so yeah, I'm done for now, and I might be done forever. I don't think I've ever missed a season of Diablo 4 since it came out. Some I've definitely played more than others, but I've always come back to check out new seasons in D4. But at this point, it seems like they've legitimately broken the endgame, and in such deep systemic ways that I don't think any real fixes can come until the next DLC at the earliest. So personally, I'm really disappointed by this. I was really looking forward to playing Lord of Hatred more than I did. And again, the campaign was great, Skovos is great, but the endgame has gone completely bonkers to the point that it is now unplayable for me at least. So in the comments, let me know what you think of the endgame in Lord of Hatred, whether you think I'm overreacting or I'm spot on. Let me know what your biggest pain points are, and also what you're enjoying the most. I think personally, I like the pit more than ever this season, but at the same time, it's the same pit as it's always been. There's nothing new there. There is no actually new end game except that one really rare portal that shows up sometimes in the new cow level. It's just the same stuff that's repackaged into a playlist that you're forced to play through in order. Yeah, I didn't hate every single part of it. It just got old much quicker than it should have. Thanks to, as usual, Blizzard throwing changes at the wall and simply hoping they'll stick. But yeah, leave your comments on these changes below, and please remember to subscribe to the channel, like and hype this video. And I would really appreciate it if you join my rapidly growing community of members. There are quite a few of us in the Spopes army now. It's a great way to support the channel. You can also support the channel by picking up some merch or leaving a donation. You can both buy merch and leave donations on my Fourth Wall site. And you can also donate here on YouTube in the form of super thanks. So thank you all for supporting the channel. And as always, we're going to finish up with a prayer to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Lord, thank you for Diablo 4 and all the fun I've had in it over the years. Lord, thank you for all the hardworking people at Blizzard. Please be with them and help guide them back to the correct path. Help them stop farming the players and start working with us to really make an enjoyable game. Help them stop just throwing random changes at the wall. Help them add real complexity to the game and not just complication. And Lord, I thank you for my community. Please bless them in all ways. I thank you for the ability to make this video today. For those brothers and sisters in Christ who are watching this video, draw them closer to you, Lord, and also draw to your side all those recently departed souls across the world. I give you all glory for the video today and for my channel, Lord. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. All right, again, everyone, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about the video in the comments below. And before you go, please remember to like, hype, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, turn on notifications, because I'll be back soon with new content.